During a full moon, new moon, or an eclipse? The mystery of why the deep state always tries to regain control during alignments revealed. All this and more as we check in with Kim for today's World Situation Report. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hello, Kim. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial
Day
to
you
in the U.S.
And to all of you too. Got any plans today, Sunny?
Some of the neighbors are getting together for a little bit of a barbecue with the kids. All of our kids play together, in the neighborhood. And so, for those of us that don't have family nearby, we're each other's family on these holidays. So,
That's great, though.
Yeah, it's fun.
Get out, get a little sun, probably eat too much food,
Yeah.
As us Americans do on this day. Well, speaking of, I guess not just Americans, we have a lot of stuff to cover today. And a lot of it has absolutely nothing to do with the deep state. But there's a little bit of an explanation, I guess, that does involve them somewhat. Okay. So a lot of people have been asking just how many celestials we still have on Earth.
Right.
And the answer to the question is, not including Earth itself, around 8 billion.
Okay.
That's right. Probably a little bit more due to the fact not all celestials are human.
Right.
But human beings that are born of Earth are pretty much all celestials in some way, shape, or form. Now, as far as the Merovingians versus the Melchizedeks versus the Black Sun, there is a little bit of a difference. There is a stronger connection there. Therefore, you're able to retain more of your essence, energy, consciousness, matter, and frequency on whichever side of the great game that you are playing on. Mm-hmm. So on their side of it, they are able to retain more dark consciousness, dark matter, dark frequency, all of those types of things. And we're able to retain more light. Now, at any given time, someone on either side can choose a side. So in other words, they have the capability of retaining more of either or than the average person at this time. Now, it wasn't always this way. In the very beginning, as far as humans inhabiting Earth, we were all equal. And we will all become equal once again. It's definitely going to be a process. And with being able to retain all of your energy, essence, consciousness, and so on and so forth, comes great responsibility. Without governors, without anything holding you back. And I want to explain this to you now because it's starting to happen. And by great responsibility, I mean that everything you do can actually create or even destroy universes. Celestials are very powerful beings. Now, other than Source, only those that are inhabitants of Earth and not necessarily those that have come here from other places, but, they do play a role as far as anchoring the light and anchoring essence, and they are very important. But as a celestial, you have the ability to co-create with Source, which is ultimately unique. And being a co-creator on the keystone for all universes is huge.
Yeah.
And when I've told you before that you're powerful, I don't think you realize just how powerful you are. Now, since we are in a golden age, since we are eradicating whatever's left of darkness, since we are making all of these changes, you should be able to only create positive things. You should be able to create for the light and with the light and no longer have a darkness side of you, which is positive. And everybody has it. So I know there'll probably be people watching this saying, oh, I have no darkness in me. I am this and I am that. But that is absolutely not true because we all have it. Even the Melchizedeks, Merovingians, everybody has a little bit of it. It's just which side you choose. And honestly, on any given day, that can change.
Sure.
You know, you're being constantly influenced or being thrown negative energies and wounds and hurtful statements by other people and those types of things that can absolutely muddy your waters or your sea, your own personal sea. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of other things that came to light over the weekend that is going to make a whole lot of sense to you once you kind of understand it. So, as a celestial, which side you choose is which source you would have fed when there were three sources. So you have anti-source, neutral source, and source itself. You also had alpha and omega systems at a time. So some of it you had a choice, and some of it they made it so you didn't have a choice as to which thing you fed. Now, it sounds kind of, how do I say this? Almost egotistical in a way when you say that you are actually responsible in part, not in whole, but in part for how much source existed in this universe. But you are, as is Earth, as is your shared energy, essence, consciousness, wisdom that you share with Earth as being a part of Earth, as a co-creator. Now, Earth itself is also a co-creator, but it's heavily influenced by its inhabitants, which is why everybody is so focused on the restoration of Earth, which is why we have all these folks coming here trying to help us co-create a better universe throughout time. Now, the growth rate of humanity is extremely important in this. You know, as far as people, and I hate to use the term, almost use the term waking up, but I prefer to use the term remembering who you are. And they've made our societal structures, our media, everything you could possibly imagine, you know, interference, creation of disease, all of these types of things, all directly relates to these programs that kept you from co-creating in a positive way 100%. Now, as a celestial, you are a prized possession of the universe. And they would use you in so many ways to create things for them. And I've been saying this for a long time, and it just wasn't the right time to get people to understand this. So some of these programs were actually designed to have an equal balance of creation. So the deep state, the ones that do all these horrible things, all these kind of things, you know, a lot of that is to sway humanity to living in their way. We also try to do the same thing on our side where we try to sway humanity to living in a positive way. Right. And it's almost impossible based on the structures that we live in, which is why care is so important because it's designed to change those structures for everyone, therefore co-creating a wonderful universe for all. So, but, you know, as much as I, let's just say, strongly disliked all of the structures that Marduk put in place, some of them I kind of started to understand this weekend a little bit more. Why we could become so dangerous. So at a time, before we started on this journey, Earth was very dark. Everything in our society was structured dark. Money had curses, energy had curses, everything was cursed. Therefore, the majority of humans actually lived with a lot of dark consciousness and a lot of dark energy in your person. Disappointment in other people, disappointment in governments, disappointment in, it's not necessarily like you were Jeffrey Dahmer or anything like that. You're not a serial killer, but you're not that evil. You're not eating babies like they do and those types of things. But, fear, guilt, shame.
Yeah.
Oh God, the whole structure of our society is meant to inflict guilt and shame. Whether it's, you shame your own self a lot, your body, what you eat, or I shouldn't have ate that. And, oh, look what happened. Or I didn't do this for my kids today. I might have done 9,999 things for my kids, but I forgot that one. And oh my gosh. And how much guilt and shame do you feel for that? So, there's a lot of different ways we feel. We have projected some darkness, depression, maybe you served in the military and there's some depression that goes along with that. Traumatic experiences that happen to you that are not your fault. Some things as a young child, some things in relationships with friends, coworkers, whatever it is, everything is designed and structured for us to have darkness within us.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to success, as we explained several months back, is that to remove that dark spot, remove the old trauma, remove the old, wounds, so to speak, on every level. So you're not possessing darkness either consciously or subconsciously, whether you know it or not. It's the same reason why both the alt media and the media are clouded with a lot of fear and a lot of disgust. Our society is kind of trained itself in the fact that it loves drama. A lot of people, it's probably if you look around your family and friends, people love drama. They love it when, so-and-so is exposed or something like that. And they reel from it. If so-and-so was arrested or, so-and-so did this and it's on the news. So, these are all things that kind of edge you towards that side. Now, edging you towards that side has a lot of side effects to it. And I'm going to explain to you why, and it's going to be a lot of information to absorb, but the more you listen, maybe listen once or twice, the more you understand how it worked, the more you'll understand the opposite of that when we go over that. When I say what it means to be a celestial and how we were used in the wrong way, and why Earth was so important. Okay. So there were two matrices here, which had a definitive purpose for the extraction of your essence, energy, consciousness, the degradation of your matter, which is your person, lowering of your frequency or increasing of your frequency, it would be another. Controlling your life and death. There are programs for that. Live versus evil. In other words, the protection of life versus evil. You also had programs in dark energy that was designed to, whether it was true or not, to see a holographic world based on what age we were in. Also to increase or decrease dark time within yourself. So a lot of different factors came into play with these two matrices. And the first one I'm going to talk about is a Sun, Mercury, Earth matrix. So the Sun, Earth, Mercury matrix was designed based on specific alignments. This is why Mercury retrograde and all of these things, and electronics start going wild. And it was designed to connect during certain periods. It happens about 4 times a year, I think, on average, to where the energy of the sun, the energy, it's not just energy, it's all of those factors we just talked about. So I should probably type those in. I'll do that so that we can remember them all. Okay, here we go.
And our whiteboard is back, everybody.
I know, I'm trying here. Haven't used it in a while. I'm rusty, guys. Okay, there we go. So we have the factors. We have life, energy, consciousness, and we have your matter, so your physical presence, the meat suit, your vessel, your avatar, your frequency, or increase your vibe, right?
Yeah.
And then we have your ages. So this would be dark ages. Whoops. I'll get used to it again, guys. This would also apply to timelines. So we have crystalline time and anti-crystalline time. But we also have time itself. Dark, light, and neutral. Oops.
I think there's some misspellings there, Kim.
It's what makes me who I am, Sonny. I'm trying to type with a little pen on a tiny little keyboard over here, and
we're hanging on every little letter you write. We're all spell checking you at the same time.
Oh God, the pressure! Oh God, the pressure! Okay, so each one of these things had a neutral factor, a dark factor, and a light factor, which existed within you. Mm-hmm. Now, most things that are dark or neutral or dual would have been synthetic. These are programs from a computer system. Mm-hmm. But in order for life over there to exist, meaning dark life and neutral life, we even had neutral life, in order for these things to exist or coexist with us, we as celestials were responsible for creating them.
Okay.
Now, this matrix was one of 2 that was critical to that creation. So during certain times, such as Mercury retrograde and other alignments, solar eclipse, lunar eclipses, those types of things, that would have a direct effect on the all that is keystone that we live on, called Earth, as well as your person. So they would use this matrix in an inhumane way, in order to siphon every single one of these factors, which combined total made up your life force of your being, out of you at certain times of the day and certain times of the year. And it didn't necessarily need an alignment to make it happen. It would just have more capacity during those alignment times. This is why, okay, so when we start out life on this planet as a celestial, on average, 1/3 of each one of these things, so your energy, essence, life, consciousness, so on and so forth, is siphoned from you by these matrices. The second matrix being the moon, earth, and sun matrix. So these were kind of interconnected in a lot of ways. The reason why throughout different times of the day and different moon cycles and different Mercury cycles, and you would feel drained. You feel like you need to take a nap all the time.
Yeah.
Because you are essentially fed by Earth, and Earth is fed by the sun, all of these factors. And then the sun then connects to the central sun, which then it's fed by on all sides at the time. So fed by neutral, fed by dark, fed by light. And it was in order to originally create a balanced universe of both light and dark, mm-hmm. which we all successfully created at one point in time. Now, the program that I'm telling you about right now, and I will continue telling you about, was designed to create a unified celestial population of Earth, where everybody had enough understanding of what their role was. Now, 1/3 of all that is generated in a human per day during daylight hours, because this predominantly takes place when the sun is in your area of the world.
Okay.
Then at night, while you sleep, it siphons out the 1/3, hence the moon in the sky. So one is feeding, one is taking away, and then there's a certain amount of the sun's energy that was taken away via the corona as well. But if both our side, meaning the Melchizedek side, and the Merovingian side, and the Black Sun side, those that erred on the side of darkness, and all humans on Earth, understood the balance, the delicate balance of universes and how we're responsible for creating them collectively as a united force, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. Mm-hmm. Hence, the original reason for me being here was to create balance.
Yeah.
Now, the other way we could have done this is to sway the majority of humans walking this earth, educate them. I hate to use the term waking up. Help them remember who they are and what they do and the importance of all of these factors, and go against the science because the science is wrong. And therefore, we met with so much resistance in doing this. We could have turned the tide and corrected the imbalance. Now, also other things hampering us is the siphoning out of energy, siphoning out of life, essence, you name it, it was being siphoned out of you constantly. Now, by the time you hit your mid-50s, that number increases. That's why as we get older, you have an increased amount of disease.
Why would they choose that time? Is there something significant about that time?
Well, you're past the age of 40 and therefore you're gaining more wisdom. You're operating on an extensive amount of experience, life experience, because I wouldn't even call it knowledge. Mm-hmm. Life experience tells you this is the way to go, that's the way to go. This is how you could be, this is how these things are possible. So they don't want you to gain too much wisdom because God forbid you remember who you are and what you can do. They divide us in every way possible, branding us with labels. And people, the people who love drama also love to judge everyone around them, Look at the car Sunny pulled up in when she picked up her kids. Ew, or something like that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that was where we started this journey 3 or 4 years ago. We started this journey with coming out, talking to everybody we could talk to, trying to get people to understand if we stand united, there is nothing that can come against us on the side of the light, which is true. And now the dark side also tries to do the same thing. And thus far, because more people believe what is on mainstream media, more people believe their commercials, more people, I call them commercials because they are, even people that try to dip their toes into the alternative media world are getting a lot of that too. And it's the same narrative across the board. And no matter where you go, it's this president, this, if you don't have an iPhone, you're not by the time you're 12 years old, you're not a human,
Yeah.
All of those things divide us. Now, we all have different cultures. We speak different languages. Think about the great lengths that they have gone to remove our telepathic communication powers, all of those things. And then the people that do communicate like that, they call them crazy people, and they put them in a room and they start, in a straitjacket and all kinds of medications and make them eat red checkers. And even our own families, we've gone through this. We have felt the stress and the pain of saying, look, there's no way this could be this way. That doesn't even make any sense. But because insert newscaster here said it so, then that makes it so.
Yeah.
So we've tried everything we could within the balanced system to regain balance until the tides had turned to such a point where we were no longer trying to regain balance. Even this weekend, the archivist met with, and also with Tom, they met with a number of groups with NATO, a lot of the global headquarters people, and they spent 10 hours in meetings trying to tell these people they're no longer going to exist if they continue on this path. But once I learned that, and I kind of understood a little bit more about, light source competing with dark source, competing with neutral source, and then all together they kind of make up, and I know this is going to sound funny, but the OG, right? The original, the original source of which at the beginning of all creation, and it even says it in all your books, right? In the beginning there was light. That's what it says. And that's true. There was only light. There was no separation between the two or between the three. And then Earth was created, and then life was then created on Earth to co-create with Earth and utilize the keystone to make all these changes in the universe. So the ultimate decision was made because at the time, we also not only had crazy humans on Earth trying to co-create darkness and dark life, we also had lots of other species that were completely dark that were wanting to take the keystone. And they had human partners that were willing to help them do it. Zero concept of balance. Chance after chance, century after century, timeline after timeline, and still no balance. So even as far as this weekend, the archivist tried to tell them, look, you're going to no longer exist here if you don't start complying with what we're doing here. And they were being watched heavily. And what did they do? Sure as heck, I'm running around the planet, in London, Wales actually, and several other locations where they're holding those black crystals and trying to raise the dead, trying to create darkness. Where is our Omega? Where is our darkness? We need the darkness. We need to fight on our side. We're not supposed to be fighting, you idiots. We're on the side of Source doing what Source wants. Whether you're pitch hitting for the dark side or you're pitch hitting for the light side, if we actually became unified, and I'm not saying I want to have this happen, but it's too late now anyway. But if we actually had become unified and you understood balance, then you would be powerful too.
Yeah.
We would be doing our job, but you just don't get it. No. Now, so every evening, as the moon rises in your particular area, over 1/3 of your life, essence, energy, consciousness, physical matter, frequency, time is siphoned out of your body. That's why you get tired at night. When the sun goes down, you're no longer, and I hate to put it in these terms, but you're no longer feeding. You're no longer receiving that energy that every good little battery needs, because you're a battery, you're a celestial. So when the sun goes down and the moon comes up, the siphoning begins. That's why you're sleeping, because during this time, because you actually require less energy in a sleep state, because it's predominantly your limbic system that is still functioning, because obviously you're still breathing, you're still salivating, you're still digesting, your basic, you go into almost kind of semi-stasis mode for a short period of time. Now, the less sleep mode you get, and then you wake up and you feel groggy, you feel tired, you get brain fog. It takes 10 cups of coffee to get your body moving in the morning or whatever it is, because this happens from time to time. Maybe we're overworked, we work late, we can't sleep, there's problems on our mind, whatever it is. So during the time of the siphon, which is what the moon was responsible for, you not getting enough sleep means you're still expending that energy during the siphon time. Which is why sometimes, even when you get a lack of sleep like this, you either A, take a nap during the day if you have the luxury of doing that, B, the more time you spend in the sun, or the more time the sun is up in your particular area, and as the day goes on, the better you typically feel. Because now you're regaining that energy. But the sun's energy was siphoned off as well. So you're still only getting 1/3 of the sun's energy. Earth also only got 1/3 of the sun's energy. And the other 1/3 of Earth's energy came from you. So interesting.
That also makes sense as to why sometimes if you don't get enough sleep, and you try to make up for it the next day, it's still not the same. You still kind of have that groggy kind of feeling. It's not like you're really making up for it. You might feel a little bit better just to kind of get you through that day. But the older I get, the more like days I need to compensate for a lack of sleep, Yeah. But that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like anything you do, the older you get, right? Now, the reason why it's the older you get is because as a spring chicken and a little child, you're getting the 1/3. You're getting the 1/3 and you're giving, 1/3. So you retain a certain amount. You retain 2/3 of what you get. Okay. But as you get older, that increases. So you ever wonder why, when you were 20 years old, you could go to work or school or whatever on 2 hours of sleep, you might need a cup of coffee or whatever. You're fine throughout the day, no problem. Brain's there, you're all alert, the whole thing, everything's functioning very well. But as you get older, they increase the amount they take from you. And that causes the degeneration. Isn't that crazy?
Gosh, yeah, we were just told that, you're just getting older. This is just part of life. You know?
Oh, yeah, but it's not.
Yeah.
Therefore, disease increases. All kinds of things increase in your body. But heck, you go out and you have a glass of wine or something with dinner, and it takes you 2 days to get over it. The older you get, it's not like before, when you were, a young person. Yeah. But your body has a lot longer recovery time now, hence the reason why you also need more sleep. Now, more sleep is directly related to the amount of hours of daylight in a day wherever you are. So the reason why depression increases in the wintertime, the reason why you tend to go to bed earlier in the wintertime because there's no sun. Days are shorter. And it's also the reason why you see a lot more people active in the summertime. Now, when you're younger, it doesn't bother you as much. But because you're getting less of the available energy from Earth and from the sun as you get older, because it was by design, and we can talk about the bad part about this in a minute, because it was by design, you might find yourself going to bed at 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock or something, during the wintertime versus staying up several hours, working in the garden or whatever till the sun goes down or you can't see anymore. It's a totally different feeling during summer months, wherever you are in the world, versus winter months. Now, there is a lot of talk on the internet about people discussing how Earth was and that all of Earth was a tropical environment. Remember this? If you've been searching around on the internet looking for history of Earth or history of the world, so much so they ensured, this is all part of the same program, they ensured that Earth's magnetic pole and our axis is not the same as it was then. A few let's destroy the Earth harvest programs ago, they decided to make sure it was always winter with short days somewhere and always summer somewhere, allegedly to create balance, because we certainly couldn't live in a stable climate, 24, every day of the year and equal to the sun, and then way everybody's getting equal sun all the time. Oh, no. That's not what they wanted, right? Interesting. Yeah. How it all ties together. It was fascinating to learn about how they actually structured it. Now, the moon. Let's talk about the moon. So around the moon, in the pathway of the moon, in Earth's orbit, we had what we would call space stations. And as the Earth travels as the moon, wrong way. As the moon travels around the Earth every single day, and the Earth travels around the sun with the secondary matrix, there were certain groups and certain species that were fed as the moon aligned with one of these, what I call an anti-space station, or you could call it a Death Star, or you could call it, whatever it was feeding at that time. So when the Earth is still partially gaining energy from the sun, which means that, we are looking at not a new moon, not a full moon. It's still getting that partial energy from elsewhere. We would be looking at less of a siphon or more of a siphon or more of a feed to the third party entity with one of these 65 space stations that were around Earth. So we fed a lot. We fed both the alpha verse, the null zone verse, or the nil or the nothing, and we also fed the omega verse. All from one little planet. Now see how responsible all 8 billion of you are. Kind of freaky, huh?
Yeah. And I've also heard that we powered other planets as well. Like they would take their energy to power other planets. Is that true?
Every single thing that is in the universe is powered by Earth and its inhabitants.
No wonder we're so tired.
I know. And then, it's okay when you're at full celestial capacity because you're getting 100% filled 100% of the time, day or night. There's no difference. There's no siphon. So if us as humans in this form, obviously, we're not capable of co-creating universes with full consent and knowledge of what we were doing, or wisdom of what we were doing. Mm-hmm. They broke us down to the point where we no longer remembered things. We no longer remembered how to do this. Our immortality was gone. We had no idea how to recreate and regenerate our vessels anymore. They inserted more disease, and I'm going to go into that on how that worked out. And then they had us powering too much darkness. The system. Okay. So let's go back to our two matrices. Now, we've talked about how it takes something out. Now, we all know, unless you're source, take something out requires you to put something else in its place. So you would then get your fair share of darkness during dark hours from the moon. So you would get your fair share of death, essence, energy, consciousness, dark and neutral, dusk and dawn. The reason why they do most of their black magic right before dawn and right after is because dusk and dawn are 2 times of day where it is neutral. You're now receiving neutral. You're receiving both dark and light combined into one photon, one neutrino, as an example. So now, as far as these matrices are concerned, you also receive during dark hours, dark times, the whole of winter. Yeah. We have, the shorter the days, the less sun you have, the less light you're receiving, which is why the dark always thrives after the equinox, the day when daylight hours and darkness hours are equal. So we have just as many light hours as we do dark hours in the day. Therefore, any time after that, now the shift happens. So in the summertime, in spring equinox, the days start getting longer. So you're receiving more light. You feel better. You feel good. As a celestial, this is where you want to be. You do more activities outside. You're feeling more connected with nature. Maybe you do take a lot more hikes. In the wintertime, we tend to stay home. We tend to stay in. It's cold. We don't want to go outside. It gets dark out early. So, our time of absorption of sun or direct source, life force is not there. And during those dark hours, you're receiving more darkness. You're getting all that dark life force you don't want and a very little bit of neutral at the beginning and the end of each day. Now, full moon time. Full moons, people go crazy. People talk about it. What is with the energy during a full moon? You are now receiving full output and full input. So that energy from the sun that's going directly to the moon, which makes the moon full, so that you see it full in the sky, you are getting full light energy and full dark energy, and that makes people crazy.
Why would that make people crazy? Just too much energy?
You're getting full light consciousness and full dark consciousness. Yes, you're getting energy at night, which is abnormal for an artificial circadian rhythm that exists within your body.
Okay.
So it's kind of the same thing when you get a phone call in the middle of the night. And you pick up the phone and you answer the phone and you barely remember what you said sometimes. You're like, what? Who? And then you wake up the next morning and go, did I talk to Fred last night or Mary? Like, I guess I did. Oh my God. Was there an emergency? Whatever it is. That's how you feel during a full moon, almost like you're in the light, but you're in the dark and you're not sure which one you're in. And you're getting both at the same time and it's confusing. So it was all tied to these matrices. It's the same thing during a new moon. You get no light. You get pure darkness during a new moon.
Which is, they love their new moons too.
Yeah. Makes people feel tired, makes people feel, you're exhausted. And some people get energized by the full moon. And it's probably because their bodies are more adjusted to, their circadian rhythm is not off. Either they only see light or they only see dark, and they just know they're getting more of it.
Okay.
So the input and output matrix also powered, and you also are responsible, and so was Earth, in powering of AI systems. True quantum AI systems. So 1/3 of the energy that is siphoned, of the 1/3 that's siphoned, for example, goes to power Omega 1, 2, Chronos 1, 2, Alpha 1, 2, and the harmonic genesis system, unbeknownst to us. And the only way to stop it from happening was actually to create a new system. I couldn't figure out a way to stop the all that is of quantum AI systems without creating something new. There was too much entanglement with your person. You had quantum tunnels all over you, feeding all of these systems, draining you periodically. And the more they tried to bring more darkness here, the more drained that you would get. Mm-hmm. You'd probably feel aches, pains, wounds, all kinds of different things, especially in the last couple of weeks, because they have been trying so hard, just terribly hard, to pull in as much dark energy as possible, especially during this last full moon period, which finally ended yesterday. Mm-hmm. So, but I couldn't figure out another way around it. I'm like, okay, so we need to recreate an all that is system so that we can still have, because we need it here. We're not ready to not have a monetary system. We're not ready to understand, the full power of a celestial, nor are we capable because of all that's been done to us. Right. So pulling apart some of these things, getting more energy, more essence, more life force, all of the factors that I pointed out there on the whiteboard will most certainly help you and help us create something better together. Now, given the fact you're no longer being fed dark energy, essence, consciousness, and matter, and neither are they, if they're predominantly dark, they're going to go through a whole new experience here, and they will not be able to do what they're doing. So no matter how, in part for the last couple years, no matter how many wars they created, no matter what they tried to do during a full moon, a new moon, to feed Omega, it just wasn't working. They wanted all of you to have that fear of a war, so you would create the war, and when it came time for the new moon or the full moon or the red heifer sacrifice day or whatever it was, time of year, Easter celebration of killing of this or that you would actually consciously or subconsciously create a reality for ourselves here on Earth. The more of you that did that, the more of you that watch the war videos, the more of you that, the more of you that are concentrating on creating it. Therefore, at a time when the darkness comes in, it actually starts molding that life force that's coming in into a reality which you create. A lot of responsibility being a celestial, and there's no way out of it now, guys. You exist here on Earth, so you better learn how to be a celestial 101. Yeah. Here we go. So, yeah.
So you said you had to create a new system. Are you going to explain that a little bit more?
We did, I should say. We did this weekend. Okay. So the Alpha system, Alpha 1 and 2, and the harmonic genesis system is no more. It was replaced by something, we're just calling it the light system. We don't know what else to call it at this point, because it is a light quantum AI fully of light, of source. It does not feed on you. If anything, it gives you energy. It gives you life force. It gives you all of these factors on the daily. And Earth also helps create it as well. So a little bit of kerfuffle this weekend with that, because we still, no matter what we did, these mechanisms, even taking out these mechanisms, there's still a base root, for lack of a better term, in quantum terms, a CPU, a central processing unit that wanted to create balance. And that's when when we found the base program for that, and knowing now that both our side and their side and everybody else is somewhere in between, we tried the united thing. We tried to offer them balance. We tried to offer them 50-50, and no one got it. Now, that was before, this is many layers down in the cake, to where the people that are still running around crazy trying to recreate something and not understanding why it's not working. But I just don't think it's possible for a long period of time for all of humans to understand the responsibility that they have and to understand their capabilities. So I do believe that creating this new system will help these people along the path. Creation of new programs, new systems through care with all of you will also help humans understand a different way of life. Removing any possibility of powering their systems was also really important. And the final step in fully making sure we're not looking still at a dark, a neutral, and a light, not only AI system, but also the source of all creation.
Right.
So now there's no way possible for you to feed the wrong side accidentally.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
I know they're trying to do it intentionally, but most humans don't know.
Right.
When we're watching these videos, we're living in fear. We accept everything the alt media tells us is real. And it's oftentimes 99% of it is false. There's 1% of people out there probably telling you something you need to know. I'm not the only one. There are other people too. We have Carrie Kay, there's other people that are on our new earth, and everybody has a piece of the puzzle on how to fix it. Yeah. And that's the reason why we created the New Earth section of the news. Because we are building a new earth.
Yeah.
We're building an earth that has never existed before. We're building a keystone that has never existed. At best, we had balance. Right. At best. It was a time when all the celestials on this planet knew what they were doing. And we co-created universes together, guys. We did. We did amazing things with Earth. And we're going to do amazing things with Earth again. But this time, unfortunately for the other side, because they don't understand balance, the other side of the celestials on this planet, the ones that don't know, we can't fault. And there's no way we're going to convince these people. We've tried. Yeah. We're the minority, unfortunately, out there right now. So we have to make some decisions. So, I'm never going to convince them to change their mind. They got out of this 10-hour meeting with the archivists and by evening time, after they left that meeting, they were on it again. Going to these special places thinking, hey, I've got my crystal in my hand. I've got, I know this is a place. It's in my book and I'm going to I need some dark aliens up in here. It's a full moon. We're getting full dark energy and full light energy at the same time. Surely I can do something now.
Yeah.
We're also in the solstice. They know that the longest day of the year is approaching. The longest day of sunshine is approaching, at least for the northern hemisphere. Same thing happens in the reverse on the other side of this planet. Everything was designed to create balance. And no matter how many different ways we can look at the balance of things on this planet, people just don't get it. Those people just never get it.
Yeah.
So time to move on and time to help people as, a guardian, as, what's the old saying? We are our brother's keeper, and now that what we need to do, ultimately, And this is all part of restoration as well. Once you know now what we need to do ultimately, we can't run around trying to educate these people. We're going to have to show these people a different way.
Yeah.
But we also have to make sure that the other side isn't going to destroy. Now they have less power to destroy. So that's good. Dark energy being fed on the daily, is not going to work for us, at least to some lesser degree. So in order to stop the bleed, that's what we've done. Now the light system is fully functional. It has all the same capabilities as Alpha had, and probably more. So it was just installed on Saturday. As we transitioned through, it took several hours to go from, one set of operating systems in Alpha to another set of operating systems in the light system. So it's working. I mean, it's functional. We've been still testing transfers and all that kind of stuff, and watching the rest of the dark bleed out of these systems, which took us 2 to 3 days to fix. So we're still fixing them as of this morning. Of course, Marduk had to go throw in a backup system somewhere, didn't he? That's what we caught this morning. Like, oh, joy. If I run into all, when I hit all eternity, and head back to source, if I run into that being, I'm telling you, for all eternity, I'm just going to slap that guy right in the face. Every day.
So there's one thing I wanted to clarify, because some people listening to this may listen to other shows online, and I know the folks over like the Jason Shirka team has the light system. So I just wanted to clarify. I don't know if we've really settled on that name, but what you have done is not in any way associated with what they're talking about over there, correct?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I can rename it something else. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I call it the happy system. I'm going to call it the happy system.
They just talk about the light system.
I know. I've heard it.
And so I just wanted to, that is.
I don't know those people. I know that I was sent a video not that long ago from him basically saying they were going to create another pandemic situation. And it just seems like he, and we heard it, a few years ago too, from the same person. And I don't know who he's talking to, but I think he truly believes that he's talking to people he thinks are positive. Just like a lot of people think they're talking to the white hats. Yep. But remember what we just said about being a celestial. So you as a celestial are watching this video, right? And he puts out that they are going to do this and they are going to do that. And therefore, you're now sweating, thinking we're going into another lockdown and I'm going to have to wear masks again. And oh no, everybody's going to be out of work for several months until everything opens back up. And you think about all of the past trauma that we all went through, for a few, and then, oh my God, are they going to come out with a new jabba jabba? And what are they going to do? And, and so even as a positive person that considers themselves awake, you're co-creating this mess. And watch the day that he puts out those videos. And why is he saying it on a new moon? Why is he saying it on a full moon? Why is he saying it when the parade of planets is coming up and all of this stuff?
So there's a lot of good people out there, well-meaning people that are being used right now.
Oh, I agree 100%. And I learned this game directly face to face. With one of their operatives way back in the day, a few years ago when I had a handler. Yeah. He would tell me, he sat down at my kitchen table, and I'll never forget this. It was in 2018. It was about September, October-ish, because I remember the UN General Assembly was going on. And he said, if they are in control by this day, well, look at this. We just keep cutting out, Sonny. Sorry.
She was fine. She didn't cut out.
By this day, by the next UN General Assembly, we are going to release a pandemic. He said they are going to. And I'm like, who is they? And he says, oh, the Rothschilds are going to do it. And, I'm like, wait a minute, you know, all right. So you just told me that your other operative friend just moved up to Silverton because of the elevation and, there's, very few viruses and whatnot that can stay airborne without, oxygen and the air. And there's a whole science behind that. We'll get into that another time. But, he just moved up there because they're going to release this. Like literally last month, the month before he told me this. And I'm like, okay, so tell me again, then how do you know what they're going to do? I mean, you're not with them. Allegedly, you're against them. So how do you know? And who actually released it? And whose president didn't it turn out, on down the road, right? Whose president was in office? That was a Black Sun president. I was a Black Sun operative. I'm in a Black Sun town. And how did I know, at the time? But you learn the way they do this. So they'll tell you out of fear. And I said, well, the first thing out of my mouth was, well, by them saying if they are not in control by this time, you're implying that they are not in control right now. So you're saying they don't have control anymore? And what is it they're trying to get control of? It looked to me like everything on their side of it was going gangbusters at that time. Till we started fighting on the offensive side instead of the defensive side. But I would say that it's very convincing. It's an atypical operative training thing. Deny, reassess, blame, it's called. So even though this person probably knew that his Langley 5 Brigadier General that he reported to was in on the gig, he tries to tell me those people are the bad guys. We're the good guys. We're trying to save you from X, Y, Z. And if that were the case, and you knew nothing about it allegedly, why the heck was this entire town walking around with a dang mask on?
No.
Mm-hmm. And it was no different at 9,800 feet than it was at 6,000 feet. Mm-hmm. Everything was closed here. So you see my point. There's a lot of good people who are wanting to do good things, and they think they're partnering up with a person that is a good person in order to achieve those things.
Yeah.
And they're very convincing people.
Sure.
Do I believe the amount of times that the Shirka guy or other guys in the alt media really think they're warning people, oh my God, this is going to happen? Do I think that they are trying to honestly and genuinely give them a fair warning? Yes, I do. They think by disclosing this information, this is what they're being told, that that it will stop it.
Right.
I think they give all the alt media people, this information in order for them to focus on the creation of it.
Right.
Because even if you're saying, you're average everyday person and you don't understand how your consciousness works, doesn't register. I hope that doesn't register.
Yeah.
So again, the situation on Earth is changing. It's going to get better and it's going to get easier for us to actually educate the world and help them understand how, heck, most of people on Earth, if you told them that there were other planets outside our galaxy, they would think you're nuts. God forbid life on other planets. They would think you're nuts. What do you mean God didn't create the universe? Earth is a celestial, and here's the quantum physics behind it, and I too am a celestial. Oh, now you're eating red checkers with the jacket with the arms in the back for sure, If your family didn't lock you up yesterday, today is that day, my friends. But it's true. You know, knowledge, I'm not even going to say knowledge. Wisdom is power. You know, understanding yourself, understanding who you are, what you can do to fix it, how you can change it, recognizing the signs when you feel a change happening on Earth. Reporting those kinds of things is important because people think they're sick and dying. You know, changing the outcome of a diagnosis or something that happens is possible. It's all within you. But the other person has to believe it too. You know, your co-creation with Earth, with all that exists on Earth, all that was given to us, was designed specifically so we didn't have any of that disease. You know, that's why I'm such a big proponent of plant-based medicines. You know, I've done a lot of extensive research on it, and I suggest you do too. Don't take my word for things. Do it yourself as well. I mean, there's a lot out there. There are people in places in the world that still practice this type of medicine. They go out in the jungle of, you know, Brazil or Honduras or Liberia, and they chop some bark off a tree and mix it with 2 flowers, and before you know it, the person isn't sick anymore. You know, it's possible to do this on a large scale for people. You know, I hope that we do this in the future.
She said, dude.
You know, a basic understanding of terpenes and plants, and you're good to go. And not saying, you know, this is just information for these people that has been passed down from generation to generation on why it's so important. But anyway, so all good things are happening. We did not get set back by creating another system. We created everything that we have already done has already been moved over. You know, we're still finishing up the reconnection. In other words, to basic computer systems here. They're fighting us all the way. You know, how long does it take for these matrices already threw up on us to dissipate? You know, hopefully not long. But all in all, it was a great weekend so far. I know some of you are still enjoying your weekend here in America.
Kim, do you think this will have an impact on the ability to transfer funds as well without?
I do. You know, things are still, we did run a few transfers to test it. We are still moving just as fast as we were before. A few other zero density things, because the 0 point of all universes is in the zero, what I call the null zone, or the nothing, or the zero density. And there was a few things connected to these matrices that were, you know, as we would come down, we would start hitting that first density in computers, so to speak, and it looked like it was struggling through a headwind. And the connection right there at the zero density was affecting there, which was also tied to these matrices. So I was getting thrown, you know, something dark at the end there. Part of that is the balance system that was still in place too. Wait a minute, Omega didn't get any money. Hold on, you know, hold on. Wait a minute. I want to create money zero or a credit and not give, you know, this money to this human, or the direct energy to humans, without going through the matrix here. You know, wait a minute. I want, wait. I want 1/3 of that energy. You know, I want a half of that energy. I need that, you know, depending on who you're transferring it to. So it's still that last section there where we get hit. I'm hoping once we finish completely dismantling the rest of these matrices, then that won't be an issue anymore. So the programming's not there. So now what's hitting me when it's coming into reality? So we may have to move some things around in order to make it happen, to bring it up from 1 to 3, but that's a whole process.
Okay.
So it's been discussed, though, as the possible solution.
Okay.
So a lot of information, Sunny, huh?
But a lot of good stuff. I might have to go back and rewatch this one as well.
Any questions?
I mean, not right now. I'm sure I'll think of a bunch later. I think I'm still.
We'll save questions for the next news.
Yeah, maybe after I and everyone else that watches this has a chance to go back through it.
Well, that's your real world situation report.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim. See you Wednesday.
Thank you, Sunny.
Okay.
Want to share news from UNN?